Hello and welcome to a new edition of True Audiofiles. My name is Jim Carter. So I wanted to kind of start off first. I kind of skipped last week, but this time I'm going to do my showings of some of the stuff that I picked up this week. Most of it's new release. Basically, you have the new AC/DC, as you can see here, the collector's lighted up edition on CD. And I got the new Chris Stapleton, the new reissue, well, it's not really a reissue, but Elton John Jewel Box. There's three different versions, or three different collections in this. This one is the rarities and B-sides. The other ones, I pretty much already have most of the stuff on vinyl and CD already, so I really didn't want to invest in that, but I did want the rarities and B-sides. This one came out last week, but I just got it in the mail. It's Fate's Warning, Long Day, Good Night on splatter colored vinyl. I love splatter vinyl. And then the new reissue, or for lack of a better term, reissue, of Peter Gabriel live in Athens in 1987. I know the video was issued on the So box set, but I don't believe the audio has ever been issued like this, at least not on vinyl. But this is also one of the big reasons why I bought it is two reasons. One is it was actually an affordable price. It is basically two records for less than $30. And more importantly, the one big draw to me is that it comes with the high resolution download. So yes, thank you. One of the few artists who actually includes high resolution downloads with most of his reissues. And this was half speed mastered also at, I believe, Abbey Road. I don't know, it doesn't say, but that would be my assumption, but I could be wrong. So, but anyway, those are my pickups for this week. I had a couple of others that were not all that much of interest. They're older titles that I just hadn't picked up yet. So I don't want to spend too much time on my new purchases of the week. I want to spend most of my focusing time on the topic for today, which the topic today is going to be how long should record sides be? And part of the reason I'm bringing this up, it's kind of twofold. One is because I've seen some records where they're 25, 30 minutes long. I've actually got one record which is astonishingly over 30 minutes long. And then I've got others that are only, 12 to 15 minutes long. And I kind of wanted to go over that a little bit to kind of talk about that. So to kind of give a little bit of a technology dump on, for the technology reasonings for how long a side should be, the ideal and the ideals for them. Basically, we're talking about 12-inch records now. So you basically have two popular speeds. It's 33 1/3, and you also have 45. So with 33 1/3, you generally don't want to go over 20 minutes, ideally, to maintain the best sound quality and keep with any potential issues that may come up. Ideal is probably in the 17 to 18 minute range, but you generally don't like to go over 18. You can, as I've mentioned, I have some that are over 30 minutes long, which just is incredible to me. But anyway, then on the 45 RPM 12-inch, basically you want to stay under 15 minutes, ideally probably in the 12-minute range or less. And the advantage of going 45 RPM is it's basically got less possibility of getting distortion the closer you get into the center of the record, because the waveforms, if you will, are spread out over a longer spiral in the groove. So, and it also allows you, because of that, to make the side louder, so you can kind of have a bigger differential between the surface noise of a record, because every single record has got surface noise, I don't care what it is, and the actual music that's playing. So if you have quieter parts, they're still going to be considerably louder than the surface noise. Now, the one drawback to 45s, besides the shorter time frame, is the fact that you also, because you're playing a record at 45 RPM, you also are going to be getting a little bit more surface noise from that. Now, obviously, the surface noise is going to be very dependent on the vinyl material that's used, and the quality. In other words, is it virgin vinyl, is it a special type of formulation? Thickness sometimes can play a role, but it's not as important. But also the quality of the pressing and how well they pressed that record, so there isn't surface noise as relevant, or as present, I should say, on that record. So that's going to be a big determination, and that's part of the reason why, for example, all these there's a super expensive reissues by audiophile labels like Mobile Fidelity and Analog Productions use better quality vinyl and spend a lot more time and typically QCing that more expensive vinyl that's on 45 RPM, because the benefits way outweigh the negatives, especially if you're going to do a better quality vinyl and you're going to do a little bit more quality controlling on the pressing. So that's kind of on the technical side of things. So one of the weird trends that I've been seeing lately is there's 2 LP sets, and the records are 12 minutes to 15 minutes aside, and it just really kind of had me frustrated as to why they didn't do 45 RPM versions of these instead of them being 33 1/3. Like, I know of a couple of records, some of them are escaping me at the moment, but I think the U2 reissue of All That You Can't Leave Behind, I believe that every single side on that reissue it's a 2-record set. I believe it's less than 15 minutes on each side, and a lot of them are 12, 13 minutes long. And so I actually asked a friend of mine who does cutting, is Joe over at Sterling, about this, because I was kind of frustrated by starting to see a lot of these trends of a bunch of 2-record sets that are less than 15 minutes long but are still 33 RPM. So the one factor that he didn't bring up but just kind of makes sense to me is the pressing, and are they going to use a good quality vinyl, and are they going to do a better quality control on those pressings? So you've got that factor, because the noise is going to go up, but also from what he was saying, once you start hitting that 15-minute range, it starts to not make as much sense to do a 45 RPM, because you're kind of losing some of the advantages that 45 RPM gives, just because one of the other things you'd like to try to stay as far away from the center as possible. 45 RPMs help with the distortion as you get further in on them, but you still have that issue as closer that you get to that center. So if you keep it at 33 1/3, that gives you more space between the end of the area that you can cut onto and the end of the song, so aka less distortion. So it makes sense. So you got 2 reasons. One is you'll get less distortion. 2 is you'll definitely get less surface noise, but that's especially becomes important if they're not going to use like super vinyl or special formulations of vinyl, and they're not going to have as much of a quality control standard on the pressing of it. So that is why that's being done recently. So overall, the one thing that really frustrates me to no end, though, is, and I've been seeing a lot, and actually there is another version of All That You Can't Leave Behind I bought for really cheap. It was like $16, and it's a single record, and I want to say the album is 50 some odd minutes long, so I would assume both sides are over 25 minutes long, and that just opens up for all kinds of distortion and things like that. So I'm glad that they kind of reissued this as a double album. Kind of a pain in the butt. I know I've heard a lot of people complain about, especially the 45 RPMs, where after 2 or 3 songs, you've got to get up and change the sides. But if that's your complaint, then probably records are not for you. That's how I view it. But if you're always concerned about flipping that record, then maybe you should stick to CDs or streaming. But that's just my take on it. But so that's basically it. So ideally, records should be about 18 to 20 minutes a side if they're 33 RPM, no more than 20 minutes. And on 45 RPM, you're probably talking 12-ish, 13-ish minutes a side, ideally, for best maximum sound quality. Anything above those times, you start questioning that sound quality of those records. So if you ever are shopping for records, and you know of a record that's been reissued or that's out on vinyl, an album that's out on vinyl, and you know that album is at least 50 minutes long or longer and it's on one record, I would be hesitant to buy that, because there are probably going to be several issues, and not the least of which has nothing to do with the time on the record, but they also may not have spent a lot of money on the pressing and the cutting of the record either, if they're going to do that, especially if it's cheap. You know, if it's $19 and that record is, or $17 or $18, and it's a single record and it's over 50 minutes long, there are some questions there, and I would be very hesitant in buying those. So, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I would love to hear what you think and what your experiences are about long record sides, and if you had any situations where it's been noticeably bad because of the longer sides. Because one of the other things I forgot to mention too is to make something fit on a record, if it's a long side, is you're going to have to lower the volume quite a bit too, which means now the surface noise is going to be louder. So there's some trade-offs there, and so you can get the more time, like the 25-30 minutes on a side, but you have to get that volume way down so the grooves can fit, the groove walls can be, you know, closer together, if you will, on that one single groove on the side. But anyways, love to hear your comments on it, and see what your thoughts are, and see if you have any experience with really long records that you wish were spread out over 2 records. One that I will bring up over and over again, which I probably should have brought out, but is Iron Maiden Power Slave. I would really love to see them reissue those on 2 records set. And basically all the early Metallica stuff has been reissued as a 2 LP set, and in some cases I think 4 LP sets. But there are basically the regular issues of them that are currently available are all single records, which I'm aggravated by, because those are over 50 minutes long a piece. So anyway, hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos of mine, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to know when my new videos come out every week, please hit that alert bell to let you know when my new videos come out. That is my show for the day, for the week. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.